Hi, I'm Malcolm McGrath, cabinet maker, and this is a video on how we make the design process simple. One of the things we know is kitchen renovations can be complicated and stressful. There are a lot of decisions you have to make in order to build a kitchen, and sometimes it's difficult to make all those decisions up front. The old way of designing kitchens or cabinetry projects is you sit down with a designer, you come up with a CAD drawing, something like this, and then you make a list of specifications and you sign a contract, and then they send that away to the shop for construction, which takes usually a couple of months, and you hope that when you get it, it all fits. But you have to make 100% of the decisions up front. If you make changes partway through, either that will delay the project by weeks, sometimes months, or it can double the cost. This makes the whole process very stressful because either you have to do the renovation, wait until everything's ready, and then design your kitchen once you've got maybe the drywall up, or you design it before you start your renovation and you just hope that when you get the kitchen delivered, it will actually fit the renovation as it's actually been built. And usually it doesn't, and that's where problems start. A lot of kitchen companies will tell you they've got a high-tech design process. And what that means is, they have fancy CAD drawings, maybe they have 3D visualization techniques, even virtual reality. But in fact, what they're doing is using high technology to trick you into this old-fashioned design philosophy. You still have to make 100% of the decisions up front, and any changes are going to cause huge delays and cost overruns. The funny thing is, this kind of old-fashioned project management style where you make 100% of the decisions up front has already been abandoned by Silicon Valley and by the world of technology. They say this is a completely dysfunctional way to get complex projects such as designing software or building computer hardware to get things done. So they don't even do it that way anymore in the technology world. In the tech world, they have a design philosophy called Agile, which is basically you design something and make it in stages so you can modify it as you go. And that's the same sort of business process or management process that I've developed to make the whole process of designing and building your kitchen easier and less stressful on you.
Hi, I'm Corinne Macmillan. I'm the Chief Product Officer for a company called Corpay, and we build software that moves money cross borders. We tend to build our software in a very agile method, and we like to incorporate the customer in all of our designs and do a lot of research in front of our build. So when I was looking for somebody to work with on my own renovation project inside, I was very taken with some of the words that Malcolm had said to me, namely that he said, I work in an agile methodology. And I thought, okay, well, that's how I work and build all my software day in and day out. I understand agile methodology, and I like the way that the customer is incorporated, that we have not a big design and plan in the beginning with a finished product in the end, but we allow ourselves the stages in between to test and see whether or not we like the product that we're getting.
So the way we do this agile sort of design process, simplified design process, is at the beginning of the project, you don't need to specify exact cabinet sizes and dimensions and a lot of the details. What we need to do a quote and to sort of initiate a project is basically you have to decide on the type of cabinet doors, whether you want painted wood or MDF or some kind of solid wood door or perhaps a high gloss door. You have to decide on the types of drawers you want, whether you want wooden drawers or some of these glossy drawers, whether you need the soft close. So basically you decide on the types of hardware, the types of doors, whether you want wood veneer on the side. And the other thing we need is just a basic kitchen layout. This doesn't need to be highly detailed because we're a custom shop. It really doesn't matter whether the upper cabinets are 32 inches or 33 inches, an inch here, an inch here, there, doesn't make any difference. As long as the overall sort of volume of the project doesn't change, we can make changes to the exact details of the layout much further along in the project. Once we've sort of decided on the overall style of kitchen and the type of materials and things you're going to use and the general layout, you can actually begin your renovation without finalizing the details. So you can do the demolition, do the build out. If it's an addition, you can build the addition. We won't even worry about the exact layout until you've sort of got the space opened up and you have the final dimensions of the space, and that's when we can start fine-tuning the details of the layout. Typically the way we do that is we'll go in with basically these floor templates and lay them out around based on preliminary drawings, and that'll give you a better feel of how things are going to fit together. We can make templates for the fridge and the stove and the dishwasher and pantry cabinets and sink cabinets, and then we can shuffle them around the room. And by doing it this way, you can actually see how the cabinets will fit in the space that you're going to end up with after you've already got the space laid out. So this is really helpful. People can see how things are going to fit, and by using these templates, they can even walk around them and get the feel of the finished space. So it makes a big difference. I mean, I've had some jobs where I'll even take sort of a giant piece of styrofoam and set it up where the fridge would go, to sort of give the idea of where a sort of big gable would go and help people with the visual of the space. The nice thing about doing this is, A, you see if things will fit. One of the things I just discovered on this wall is I don't think any kind of spacers or fillers between the cabinets were accounted for. So therefore, this little spice cabinet, which is going to be 12 inches, it won't fit in this space. So we're going to have to make some adjustments here. One of the common design concerns I run into is people over-design, often the island. Now this is a very big island. We've got all the components laid out here. Here's the sink, dishwasher, wine fridge. This way it gives people a really good sense of what will fit in the room. Very often, they've got a CAD drawing, they've got architectural drawings, and they've got a lot of information. They still don't have a good sense of how it's going to feel when it's in the room. Once you template it like this, people can actually walk around it, and they can say, oh, okay, I see the way kind of the flow of the island's going to go. I see that we've got enough space here between these two cabinets. So laying out these templates is a really simple way of showing people how it's all going to fit together once we bring the cabinet boxes in.
What works on paper doesn't necessarily work within the job site, and you really need to start thinking through a lot of these different issues. So one of the things that was unique about Malcolm is he brought actual templates to our job. And so we were able to lay out our kitchen, we were able to get a feel for what everything was going to look like, and often we made a number of small but significant changes into our design.
At this stage, people very often change their mind, they modify things, and there's no real cost to that.
So how exactly did Malcolm incorporate Agile methodology? Well, what happened during the build of our kitchen is everything came in stages.
We usually don't start until the drywall is up, because once the drywall is up, then we have the final room dimensions, and then we can measure exactly where things are going to fit. It's still, you're a couple of weeks away from when we could install the kitchen, because you have to tape the drywall, usually prime it, do the first coat of paint, put the flooring down, and that's plenty of time for us to actually make the cabinet boxes. Once we've done the measurements from the exact dimensions of the room with the drywall, then we can go back to the shop and start producing the cabinet boxes. We don't need to produce the doors and drawers right away. All we're going to do is produce the boxes. In terms of box production, we're just doing the basic box without any doors and drawers. And this is just a sort of miniature model that I have in the shop. But we can do that in the shop in a week, maybe a week and a half, but we'll have that done by the time you're ready for the box installation. So once the flooring and things are done, then we come and install the cabinet boxes without any doors and drawers. There's two advantages. One is the doors and drawers, those are the really delicate part, so they don't get installed until later, so they don't get damaged. The other big advantage is when we just have the cabinet boxes, we can lay them out around the room, and at that point, it's still relatively easy to make changes. If you decide, once you see the island out there in sort of full scale, we've got the boxes down, that the island is too big, and you want to make it, say, 6 inches, take 6 inches off the end, it's actually very easy. Or if you want to shorten the cabinet or make minor changes, oftentimes that can just be, a couple hours work on site, opposed to other companies where they prefabricate everything 100% up front. That could cost thousands of dollars and delay things by weeks. But because we just do the boxes at that stage, it's relatively easy and inexpensive to make minor changes.
We had the opportunity to live with the layout, I think is the best way to say it, for about 2 to 3 weeks and see if we were comfortable with the placement of everything.
Once the boxes are in and you've looked at the layout and you're happy with it, and we sort of finalized how everything's going to go, then we can order the doors and drawers. Now that takes a few weeks, but it doesn't slow down the project, because once the cabinet boxes are in, you can template for the granite and countertops, and that's going to take a week or two. After that, you've got tile work to do. There's electrical, plumbing. So there's a lot that has to go on after the boxes are in, but before we put the doors and drawers in. So that can all continue on site, and we'll be doing doors and drawers in the shop and getting them ready, and we'll come in and we'll put them in right at the very end. And that way these don't get damaged. Installing them is just really a few screws to put the hardware in. So it's not a messy job to do this at the end of the project. And that way the doors and drawers don't get damaged, and the rest of the work can be done beforehand. So the final thing we'll do is put the hardware on. And we won't drill any holes for cabinet hardware until the very end of the project. That way, you don't have to decide what type of knob you want or handle until everything is fully installed, and you can hold it up and double check that that is exactly what you want. So there again, it just makes it easier on you so you can see the finished product before you have to decide on these final details.
Every little decision that we made throughout the build was purely for our wants and needs, and we had the time and opportunity to really feel in the exact space exactly how the kitchen would be in the end.
It was a wonderful process that he took us through. It helped with our design and education, and ultimately we got the kitchen that we wanted.
And I would say this is just the best representation of an agile build in the same way that we do it in the software industry. It was just fantastic.
So that's how we make design easy.